Niners faithful, two stories are dominating the conversation today, and they could not feel more different in tone. One is about pushing back on a ridiculous national media narrative that has somehow gained traction despite making almost no sense. The other is about honoring a player whose talent and tragedy continue to weigh on this fan base. Let us get into both. Start with George Kittle, because he did not hold back at all when addressing the idea that Kyle Shanahan could find himself on some kind of hot seat if this franchise continues falling short of a championship. Kittle's response was direct. Anyone making that argument simply is not thinking clearly, because the premise does not hold up to any reasonable scrutiny. And when you actually examine what Shanahan has built since arriving in San Francisco, it is genuinely difficult to disagree with that assessment. This is a head coach who has taken this franchise to 2 Super Bowls and who has consistently kept the team competitive even when the roster has been gutted by injury. Last season alone, San Francisco dealt with significant stretches without Kittle himself, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Brandon Ayuk, not role players, but some of the most important contributors on the entire roster. Despite that level of attrition, Shanahan still found ways to keep this team fighting, which is exactly why so many people inside the building continue to view him as one of the elite offensive minds in football. What stood out even more in Kittle's comments was his praise for Mac Jones specifically. When Brock Purdy went down last season, there were legitimate questions about whether the entire season would unravel. Instead, Jones stepped in and kept the team alive, and Kittle specifically credited him for how he handled that adversity, pointing to how critical it is for a quarterback to walk into a locker room during a difficult stretch and continue producing wins. That is what keeps a team together during the moments that could otherwise cause a complete collapse, and it speaks to something real about the culture Shanahan has built. This connects to a broader pattern that deserves recognition. Shanahan has built a genuine reputation for getting the best out of quarterbacks, whether that means developing a better quarterback rating than at any of his previous stops. That kind of turnaround does not happen by accident. That is coaching and development working exactly as intended, and it is a major reason why players continue to defend Shanahan whenever this kind of criticism surfaces. None of this means Shanahan is above criticism entirely. The expectations in San Francisco are enormous, and with the collection of stars on this roster, simply making the playoffs has never been the goal. Everyone understands that winning a championship is the actual standard, but the specific claim that Shanahan is somehow coaching for his job right now does not hold up under any real scrutiny, and Kittle clearly does not see it that way either. If this roster stays healthy and performs the way it is capable of performing in 2026, this entire conversation likely disappears as quickly as it appeared. Now, the second story, and this one is genuinely difficult. Aldon Smith has passed away at 36 years old, and for longtime Niners fans who remember the Jim Harbaugh era, this news lands especially hard. When San Francisco selected him 7th overall in the 2011 draft, he immediately became one of the most dangerous young defenders in the league. 14 sacks as a rookie remains one of the greatest rookie pass rushing seasons in NFL history. Then came 2012, 19.5 sacks, a franchise record that still stands today, first-team All-Pro honors, a Pro Bowl selection, and a season that established him as one of the most feared defenders anywhere in football. For that period, Aldon Smith genuinely looked like a future Hall of Fame talent. That is not an exaggeration. But the other side of his story is equally well known to longtime fans. His career became overshadowed by legal issues, suspensions, substance abuse struggles, and repeated encounters with law enforcement. The talent never disappeared, but the stability needed to sustain a career at that level was never fully there. San Francisco released him in 2015, and stops with the Raiders, the Cowboys, and a brief opportunity with the Seahawks followed. But the trajectory that once looked destined for greatness never fully recovered. What makes this particular loss even more difficult are the details of his final day. Smith spent part of that morning helping deliver pizzas to a charity serving unhoused individuals in Northern California, working alongside his friend Amir Shirazi through Cham Deliverance Ministry. The organization's co-founder, Scott Wagers, later said he was genuinely impressed by Smith's willingness to help people in need. After running a few more errands together, Shirazi later discovered Smith unresponsive in a vehicle back in Los Gatos. Former 49ers running back Anthony Dixon reportedly assisted with CPR efforts before paramedics transported Smith to Good Samaritan Hospital in San Jose, where he was pronounced dead. The official cause of death remains pending toxicology results. One of the details that resonates most is that Smith had recently returned to the Bay Area and had visited Levi's Stadium just days before his passing, reportedly speaking with some of the team's newest rookies about training, development, and life in professional football. A player who once represented so much promise was still actively trying to give back and help the next generation right up until the end. The 49ers' own statement captured the devastation felt throughout the organization, remembering not just his talent, but his smile and the genuine impact he had on the people around him. For many fans, that combination is exactly how he will be remembered, not solely for the sacks and the Pro Bowl honors, but for the feeling he gave this fan base watching him terrorize quarterbacks every Sunday during a stretch when San Francisco fielded one of the most dominant defenses this league has seen in years. These two stories together say something real about where this franchise stands right now. One is about the pressure to finally finish the job and bring a championship back to San Francisco. The other is a reminder of how quickly careers and life itself can change, and how easy it becomes to lose sight of the human beings behind the helmets when we spend so much time focused on wins, contracts, and championship windows. Today is a day to hold both of those truths at once. Rest in peace, Aldon Smith. And for this current roster, the mission remains unchanged: finish the job and bring another Lombardi trophy back to the faithful. Let me know what you think about Kittle's defense of Shanahan, and share your favorite memory of Aldon Smith in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, and if you believe in this team's path back to the Super Bowl, subscribe to join this growing community. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.